Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's hot topic video here on my Waves of Communication page. Welcome to all of you who are viewing on Facebook and all of you who are viewing on YouTube. I'm super glad you're here because today I'm going to be talking about a very hot topic, and that is I'm going to be doing a comparison between language facilitation and behavior therapy, ABA, or any kind of version thereof. This discussion is designed to show you some comparisons so that you can make decisions yourself about both interventions and maybe even evaluate for yourself each one of these kinds of interventions to, make some decisions for your own self. So before I get started, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Marcy Melzer, and I am an intuitive speech and language pathologist. And it is my mission to help as many parents as possible teach your late talking children how to use the words they need to share their wisdom with the world. And I do that in my Waves of Communication parent coaching program. And if you want to learn more about that, you can visit on wavesofcommunication.com. All right, so without further ado, let's get into today's hot topic. I'm going to be talking today about 3 things that are similar between behavior intervention, at least a good behavior intervention, and language facilitation. And then I'm going to be talking about 3 things that are different about the 2 methods so that you can compare. All right, the first thing that is the same about language facilitation and behavior, any kind of behavior plan or any kind of good plan at all, is that it is a plan. It has a plan with steps that are guided with goals and objectives for a parent to be reaching toward, and the activities and specific strategies that are used during the intervention, even if it's behavior intervention, speech language intervention, or language facilitation, they should start with a plan. And you should get that plan from someone who can help you understand what's going on with your child and what it is that is keeping them from the goals that you hope for them. And that plan should be all about deciding what to do to help you get from point A, which is where you are right now, to point B, which is the goals that you want to achieve for your child. And there should be a plan with a step-by-step process that will help you get to that place. And both a language facilitation plan and a behavior plan will have components in them that talk about what's going on right now and why those things are happening and what you can do to correct, change, modify those behaviors. In the case of behavior therapy, you're looking at modifying a behavior. A child is maybe eloping, running away, or they are, using, in behavior therapy for communication, they're using tantrums to communicate when they're upset. And a parent wants to stop that behavior and turn it into a more appropriate communication. That would be the same kind of plan that you could see both in a behavior plan and in a language facilitation plan, because those tantrums are communication, and that's you can facilitate stopping those in different ways based on a behavior perspective versus a language facilitation perspective. So both of the situations, behavior modification and language facilitation, will have a plan. All right, so the other thing that is the same between behavior kinds of training, skills-based training, and language facilitation is that in both cases there should be some analysis of behavior. So as part of this plan and the part of the process that you're using, both a language and a behavior facilitation circumstance should involve analyzing why the circumstance is happening. So in a language facilitation plan, we look at why the child is choosing to use these nonverbal ways to communicate instead of language. In a behavior modification plan, it's kind of the same. You're going to look at why the child is using the behavior they're using, if it's, you know, anything from running away to mouthing objects to flapping hands to whatever kind of behavior you're analyzing. They're gonna, hopefully, a good interventionist is going to help you figure out why that behavior is happening. And this is a very important step in the process that actually you need to do before your plan. But that analysis to understand why the situation is how it is, this is very important in order for you to fix it, right? So an analysis portion should be part of both a behavior plan and a language facilitation plan. And then the other thing that is the same about behavior training and language facilitation is that they focus on what kids love. So the behavior analysis people will do actual reinforcement evaluations where they'll test things to see which kinds of things your kids enjoy. Like, do they like bubbles? Do they like trampoline? Do they like a squishy object? You know, what is it that they love? And in language facilitation, we also do focus on what your child loves. But here's where we start to go in different directions, okay? It's actually in this step of the process with understanding the reinforcement. So we both use what kids love, but behavior analysis, behavior intervention, ABA, those kinds of things, use that information to establish a way to entice your child to work. So they get the idea of what your kid loves so that they know what carrot to dangle in front, what thing to do to get your kid to want to do their work, right? And in language facilitation, we look at what kids love to do as a clue, as a way to reach into their little world, into their little mind, into their little bubble, right? To get in and understand what they're doing, not just observe what they like and give them that when they do a good job, but we observe what they like because we want to understand why they like it. And we want to use that understanding in language facilitation to actually get in there and connect with your child on their level, no matter what they're into. If they like to carry the kitchen whisk around because they like to bang on it and watch it wobble, that is where you start, you know. And if your child is into videos, if your child is into Peppa Pig, if your child is into Legos or trains or whatever they're into, that's always where their focus is going to be, right? Where their main attention is going to be on what they love. And instead of you manipulating that to get them to do what you want them to do, you actually show them how to communicate in language facilitation while you join them and experience the things that they love together. And when you teach your child how to experience things with you and enjoy just experiencing things together, then the things that you present to them, they might be a little bit more interested in enjoying or investigating. But if you use those things they love as a tool to get them to, you know, engage with you, like you can't have this thing that you love until you do what I ask you to do. You know, if you set up that kind of circumstance, then your child is going to love that thing less for why they love it and love it more because they want to get what you want. You know what I mean? They want to do what you want. It's not all about the thing that you're teaching them, it's all about the thing. It's all about the reinforcers. So there's the difference. I hope you understand that. So that's where those things are the same. Behavior training and language facilitation. They're the same because they both have a plan. They both require analysis and understanding of why a child is doing what they're doing. And you have to understand what they want and what they love, because these are the ways that you engage with kids and get them to learn. And that's why language facilitation and behavior intervention are so effective for kids. All right. So now here's where things differ. And this is where the families in my program and families all day long kind of tell me about their experience and sort of where things sort of stop working for behavior intervention. Because, you know, let's face it, when you use something a child loves to gain their interest, they're gonna do what you want eventually to get that thing. So you're gonna see success just because you have the thing they love in your control, right? You're gonna see improvement because of that. But see, where it breaks down is where families realize that that's all they get, is that they get behavior only when it's reinforced by something else, and their child's not actually doing that behavior because they want to, they're doing it because of the reinforcement. And that's the main difference between language facilitation and training. But now I'm gonna go sort of another way in how they're sort of the things that the way they go about things is fundamentally different. So the first difference I really want to talk about is, again, the use of reinforcers. So that's, like I said, where things really start to differ. With language facilitation, we use reinforcers as a way to get excited about life. You know, it's reinforcing naturally and intrinsically because we like doing it, not because there's something in it for us, not because of the paycheck, not because of this extrinsic motivator. In language facilitation, our reinforcement that we work with our kids to do is intrinsic. They talk because they want to, not because they get something for it. And when you teach kids to talk because they want to, that teaches them to talk when they want to. So, you know, like I said, if you listen to how that sounds, like literally when it's fun and enjoyable to talk, gives the child an experience of how that language comes from their heart, right? Oops, we froze up a little bit there. Yeah, so the language comes from their heart because they want to say it, not because you are telling them to say this word or imitate this word. And yeah, in fact, one of the families in my program just had a question about her speech therapist said, you know, we're really not seeing improvement because he's not imitating the words I need him to imitate. And so that's the next thing that I wanted to talk about, is what kind of environment, the difference between language facilitation and behavior, sorry, excuse my nose itches, what kind of environment is set up for these different methods to work. And in the case of behavior training, it's a very controlled environment. Like before, I said the therapist or interventionist is in control of the reinforcer, they're in control of the situation, they're in control of the child's attention, and it's all about what that interventionist is trying to facilitate, trying to make happen. And in a language facilitation, it's different. It's not about the parent controlling the situation. It's about the parent reacting to the situation. So the situation's going to happen anyway. And instead of controlling it, what we do is we ride out life as it happens. So I see there's a couple people who are joining me who are parents who I know this is a day-to-day struggle. If you have a kiddo who is nonverbal and you're riding out just day-to-day life and understanding if they're happy today, if they're in a good mood, if they're going to be responsive to what you do, if they're tired, if the time change affected them, you know, anything like that, you as parents know that on a day-to-day basis, you are always evaluating what's today going to be like, how do I do it? And that's in response to your kiddos. You offer them with opportunities like, hey, it's time to wake up, and you see what kind of reaction you get, and you respond to that, because your child could be different from day to day, right? And that's a fundamental difference between language facilitation and a structured ABA environment. When your child shows up for ABA, every day the environment is the same. The room is the same. The walls are bare. There's nothing on them. They keep it very simple and focused so that the child can focus exclusively on the therapist and what they are doing and learning that job that they have to do in their session. And when you are doing language facilitation, the job is life. Okay, so you as a mom, your job, just getting through your day, from get up, out of bed, get dressed, daily brush your teeth, clean up, feed your kid, get them to their school, or teach them if you're homeschooling, deal with medical issues, deal with the weather, deal with the time change. All of these things happen to you every day. They aren't the same. Every day is not the same. And so when parents try to do the same thing over and over again, like they do in ABA therapy, behavior-based therapy, they have to do the same kinds of things. They make the same requests over and over again, because the more they make that request and the more they reinforce it, the more the child learns it. So they do it a bunch of times over and over again so that your child, okay, eventually I get it now. I've done it 50 times. The first time you give me that prompt, I'm going to give you the right response. And then they make improvement. But at home, it doesn't help you because every day changes. So that's a fundamental difference between language facilitation and behavior-based training. Is the environment is controlled in ABA, not controlled in language facilitation. All right, and then the last thing that I really kind of want to hit home, and it's the most, I don't know, sort of difficult to understand, so I'm going to try to do my best to explain it to you in my Marcy Melzer intuitive speech pathologist way, is to explain why it's really important to do language facilitation, even if you are doing behavior-based intervention and your child goes to ABA therapy, because the thing is, the progress, how progress is measured in both of these ways is very, very different. And you as parents can be fooled by numbers and data and things like that into thinking that behavior training is working and progressing for your child just because the numbers are going up. So what happens in ABA and behavior-based therapy, the situation is controlled, the procedures are repetitive, and data is collected. So the same situation is offered to the child repetitively, maybe 10 times, and then the therapist takes data about how many times in those 10 opportunities did your child give the desired response, no matter what it is. If it's do this, if it's what's this to label a word, if it's say this, if it's touch your nose, if whatever it is it's asking, they do it a number of times. Your child's expected to give a response. There is an identified response that is the target thing, and then your child is identified whether they can do it or not. And then you get reports after so long, after a week, a month of whatever you do to read, and they show that, okay, so this problem is solved, this skill is learned, and so then they move into the next level skill, and it goes, there's a ladder that they look at, and how scaffolding, and how to move up the ladder and teach skills based on skills to ultimately get to functional ability at some point. Once you learn the skills that build on skills that build on skills that build on skills, skills by skills training is ABA. That's why they can control it, because we only teach one skill at a time so we can measure and move on. And the difference between that and language facilitation is I have parents keep their progress, gauge their progress by their own observation of video. So what happens is they are encouraged, not required, because everybody does the best they can, and some parents have a harder time collecting video than others, but I encourage them to get video every week of their child. Because if you are doing language facilitation, if you aren't in my program and you're watching videos, and if you are deciding that, you know, you're going to take this on and start to respond in your everyday activities to offer your child the language that they need, right words, right way, right time, you're digging in, you're trying, doing it, you should be seeing progress no matter what you're doing. Even if you are the worst language facilitator on the planet, you are still a language facilitator, and you're probably a lot better at it than you think. Because here's the deal, your kids are going to respond to you if you dig in, reach them where they are, enjoy the things that they enjoy, and respond to them in the moment throughout your day. They're going to respond to you, period. They're going to think that you're nuts. They're going to think that you're different. They're going to think that you're wonderful because you're explaining the things that they need you to explain, not the things that you think they should learn. And that's the most important shift for all parents to do when you decide to be a language facilitator. I could do a whole video on this, is that you shift from expecting your child to learn things based on skills and based on skills. You can't get them to learn things based on skills when every day is different. So when you learn to write out every day and facilitate language naturally, that's when it makes a big difference for your kiddos. So like I said, even if you are doing ABA for your child and your child's seeing an improvement in behavior and they're learning receptive language and you're seeing numbers, you know, I advise you to really understand what those numbers mean and look at your child objectively. And even if you're not in my program, record your child weekly and see if you're not seeing improved interaction, engagement, you know, following you. Even if they're not talking, they should be paying attention to you better. They should be responding to you better. They should be playing with you and enjoying your time together more. And if they're not, then you're not facilitating language appropriately, and you might need some guidance about it. And that's where you need to look at getting guidance from a speech pathologist who knows how to do this. And, you know, I'm one of them. So thanks for joining me today, everybody. This was my hot topic video to sort of describe the differences between behavior intervention and language facilitation. I know a lot of parents look at these options as, you know, what's going on and options that are available for you. And this information will hopefully help you make a decision about your little one and the kind of intervention you want to do with them. All right, everybody. Thanks again for joining me today, and I will see you all tomorrow on my next video where I'm going to be describing ways, strategies you can actually use to facilitate through a tantrum or a meltdown, like while you're at Target, at the restaurant, at whatever, the things you need to do to help you facilitate through those things using language facilitation. So I hope you join me for that video, and I will see you all the next time I'm live. Thanks again for watching me, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks again. Talk to you later. Bye. Yeah, just trying to end this live video.